Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here with Cuppa A Natter. I do this twice a month on a Monday. I like to bring authors into my home and we talk about books, writing, life as an author. And tonight I have Annette G is joining me. How are you, my dear?
I'm very good, thank you.
I'm
Hope
glad
you're well too.
I'm very good. And you also go by Annette Glahn.
Yes,
get that. So
that's my real name.
Your real name is Annette Glahn, and then your author name is Annette G.
Anders, yeah.
All right. And we did this last year. It was about a year ago that I had you on for your debut. Was it last year?
I think it was about 6 months ago.
Oh, it seems like a little bit longer than that. And that was your debut. Well, you've had how many books come out since I last talked to you?
Well, I have 3 out right now. And I think last time could have been that only the first one was out.
And that one was Turn Back Time.
That was Turn Back Time.
Right here. And I read this one.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. My apologies, I haven't got to book 2, which is
eventually
time, but it's on. I think it's actually next on my list.
Good.
I wish it was before this chat, but we're going to talk about the entire series. But before we get started on your books, for those that are not familiar with you, I think you know everybody that's going to be joining us, but just give us a little background on Annette, where she's from, what she likes to do, just a little background, a little history on Annette.
I grew up in Germany, as most people know, I think, and as you can hear from my accent. And I moved to America about 23 years ago. It was a dream when I was a teenager to come to America and to live here. And 23 years ago, my husband and I moved here. And I love reading, I love traveling, I like photography. And now I love writing books.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And your debut novel, Turn Back Time, that came out when again? I'm sorry?
Turn Back Time was published a year ago in October 2020.
In 2020. And this is a series.
Yes.
And the third book, which is on the graphic that I posted over the weekend, that one, Time is Eternity. There it is. I love these covers. We're going to talk about the covers. This one just came out?
That came out 3 weeks ago, yes.
Wow. Congratulations. I mean, you're just popping this series out every few months. But if I'm correct, you had a lot of them written before the first book was published?
Yes. By the time Turn Back Time was published, I already had the manuscripts for the second one, and I was working on a third one.
And now book 4 just went into pre-order.
Yes, it did. Just 2 or 3 days ago.
That's fantastic. I do want to say hello to a few people that are joining us. And I'm here with Annette Glahn, also known as Annette G. Anders. That's her author name. We're going to be talking about her. I'm sorry, what is the name of the Full Circle series?
Yes.
We're going to be talking about that, but I'm going to say hi to Janet Wisborn is here. Karen Wright says hello. Ruth Benson says hello. And then Peggy Patterson wanted to stop in and say hi. I can't stay because I'm ill. I love you both. I'll have to watch this later. Amanda Reynolds is here. You know all these people. I know you do.
Yeah, and I just found where I have to click to see the comments.
Oh, you found them? Okay.
You know, I'm a little slow right now, but give me time to warm up.
It's okay. Ricky Rossetti is here.
I know everybody.
You do. I see a couple of Facebook users. That means that you are watching from my group. And I'm not sure if it's showing. Some people say it doesn't show, but there's supposed to be a blue link above the video. And because you're in a private group, you need to click on that link and give StreamYard permission for me to see your name. It's only because you're in a private group. If you go to my author page, it's not private, and I'll be able to see you just fine. Virgie Lane is here. If you have questions for Annette, go ahead and post them in the comments. I'll try to get to as many as I can.
And if we don't get to the questions today, then I'll answer them over the next few days. I will definitely check in.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it. And you'll have to check in on the group and the author page. Because
I will,
they funnel into both on this. But once we don't go live, it's in 2 separate places. Mary Jo Nelson is here. So welcome, guys. I'm talking to Annette. We're talking about her Full Circle series. What I like about this book, and I'm sure it's going to be the same for this one, but you take us on I want to say vacation. You take us to beautiful places, like this one is in France.
Mm-hmm.
This one obviously is in New York.
Among other
And
places.
the third place, the third one?
The third one is mostly in Washington, D.C., New York
Okay.
and Washington, D.C.
That's a place I really want to visit. I really want to be. I've been to New York, so I'm excited to read this and see what places you bring up. You must have been to New York.
Yeah, I live 2 hours away from New York. I've been there
Oh, okay.
countless times.
So when it comes to this series, I think we talked a little bit about it in our last chat, but number one, what gave you the idea for this series? And then the second question, was it planned on being a series when you first wrote it?
It was not planned to be a series.
I knew it. Sorry, but I just knew it.
I had the dream of writing since I was a child, since I was a teenager. And I tried to write something when my son was little, like children's stories, but they were just, nothing happened. They were boring. And 2.5 years ago, I had an idea, which was, I talked about it at our last chat. The main character was crying over a book that she read, and the book had special meaning to her. And as I saw that scene, I asked myself, why is she crying over a book? What kind of book it is? What is the background? So I had that idea. I wanted to find out what it was, and I started writing.
Wow.
And a few months later, I had the first draft. And during writing the first draft, the secondary characters, some of them, Naomi, who is the main character, and
right. Mm-hmm.
in due time, she became so vocal. She screamed at me for getting her own story. And
I've been there.
and I believe that characters are telling us what story they want us to tell. I'm a pantser, which means I'm not planning my book. I know where I start, and I know in general, because they are romantic stories, that there is hopefully a happy end. But how they get there, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. I can relate completely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know you said the same about your the Isabella series, I think.
Yeah, Jill. Well, Jill, at the beginning of the series, not just me, but a lot of readers didn't like Jill. She was sassy. She was spoiled. She wanted everything her way. And I mentioned after I finished book 2 that Jill was screaming for her own book. And I'm like, I really don't want to write this book because no one's going to like her.
Yeah.
But we, as you know, listen and let them tell our stories.
Yeah. I had that with Naomi. It was not that people didn't like her, but some thought she was a little too outspoken. And I thought, well, you know what? That's kind of me. I'm not saying I'm Naomi. By far, I'm not Naomi. A little bit of me is in each of my characters, I think.
Yeah.
But I am not Naomi. My characters are invented people. But she was like you, Jill. She doesn't take no for an answer. She wants things her way. She is getting her way usually. And that's why it was so much fun to write her story, because she needed to be brought down a little.
Calm down. Just calm down. And that's what I like about writing a series, not just for us as writers, but also the readers, because they get to know the characters better.
Yeah.
And not only that, in my experience, when you write a series and each character gets their own book, you're developing personalities.
Yeah.
And the personalities tend to be all different. You're going to have a quiet one. You're going to have a loud one. You're going to have, whatever personality there is. But all those different personalities, someone's going to relate to. So you have a personality for the person over there that's loud and outspoken, which is probably why I like, Naomi, because she's outspoken.
Yeah.
And she kind of reminds me of me, because if I have something to say, I'm going to say it.
Of course.
And that's part of what I can relate to with her. So that's why I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have these different personalities in our characters, and we have the readers that fit those personalities, hopefully. So.
Well, you want the reader to relate to the characters. I think it is okay if readers say, I don't like that person. Sometimes I read a book and I write a review and give it 5 stars, even though I did not like the main character. And people would ask me, why are you giving a book 5 stars if you don't like the main character? I said, I don't have to like them. I need to be able to relate to them.
That makes sense.
They need to, if they come across as real, as believable, then I have no reason to, well, I wouldn't slam it either anyway, but then I have no reason to.
And you want to make, when you do your 5 stars, you also want to be able to connect, whether you like the character or not, but you want to connect with the story in some way. The writing flows for you and it engages you.
Yeah.
So exactly. whether or not, you're rooting for the character shouldn't affect your rating. I agree. But if it engages you and the writing is good, then yeah, it deserves it.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And because you asked earlier about the locations and the vacation idea in my stories, I had originally the idea to send all my protagonists on a real vacation, because there's so many countries that I've seen and that I love that I want to, like, France was the first one. The next book had supposed to be in, I had planned, let's start again. The first one took place in parts in France. The second one, I had planned to send them to Italy. Well, COVID happened and I couldn't send them anywhere. But I also think of my books as personal journeys. And so vacation/journey is what I try to describe in my stories, because the characters have to develop. They cannot just be at a flat.
No, you have to. And that's nothing about series. They grow.
Yeah.
You get to know them better. Now, you mentioned that you couldn't send them anywhere because of COVID. Now, you talking about you couldn't go to Italy because of COVID, or your characters couldn't go because of COVID?
My characters.
Your books are set in real time.
They are. Yeah.
So if it's 2020, COVID's around, they can't go. Do you bring COVID up in your latest book?
I do. And a few people didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I bring up COVID. I mention it. It is not the main theme, but I mention it because, as you say, it's real time. And in Time is Eternity is in the middle, like plays right when COVID started last year.
Okay.
And I had no way, because I said earlier, I want my characters and my stories to be believable, to be real. I couldn't pretend it hadn't happened. So it is mentioned, but it is not the main theme. Mm-hmm. And the same will be in the 4th book, because that it overlaps a little bit with the 3rd book and then moves on. I can't ignore it.
Yeah, and your story is not wrapped around COVID.
No, it's not. There's a few mentions like, we have to wear a mask, for example.
I have to say I'm glad, because I think readers want to break from that when it comes to COVID. They just want to escape. So I'm glad to hear that it's not, in the story, like, a lot.
I understand the escaping. That I totally understand, but as I just said,
but you have to.
I also can't. I can't ignore it,
and that makes a lot of sense.
If I would not have, my problem was that I started to put dates in my book. Like the 1st book, I say March 2019 or whatever, or 2018. Mm-hmm. And if I would not have done that, I could have probably gotten away with saying, okay, I'm just ignoring it, because people don't know what year it is. But people know what year it is. I know readers are looking for those details.
Yeah, they do. And like you said, if you hadn't put it in, someone would have said something.
Yeah.
And if you put it in, people are going to go say something.
Exactly.
So, and I'm probably in the same boat. If I keep writing the Sabella series, I'm going to get to the COVID year.
Yeah.
So.
And it is not easy. it's not easy to find that fine line, but as I just said, and right now I am in the read through the revisions for book 4, which goes to my editor next month. And I just stumbled upon one of the things where I'm like, oh, should I rephrase that? Again, knocking it out, but not rubbing it in people's faces. Because
Right.
I understand that people want to get away and need that escape from COVID and what else is going
So
on.
you also have to keep your book in check, and you know what happened in 2020. Your book set in 2020. That's what happens.
Yeah.
You know. And speaking of time is eternity, can you give us a little bit without giving too much away? You know, which characters? Okay, let's start. I'm sorry, I'm going to backtrack. Let's get this right. Okay, book 1. This book is about which characters?
Stella and David.
Stella and David, and Naomi is her best friend.
Naomi is Stella's best friend.
And
yes.
She's the one that is outspoken that we talked about.
Yes.
So after book 1, we have book 2, which is In Due Time. Yeah. And this is Naomi's.
That is Naomi and Revan. Revan is at the core of my series is a group of 5 or 6 friends. And 2 of them are cousins, Naomi and her cousin Joe. Stella and Luca, who will be the protagonist or is the protagonist in the 3rd book. So it's a group of friends, 5 or 6 friends. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, new people come in.
Okay. And then, so we get to introduce now. Okay. This is something I told myself every time I was writing the Isabella series. I'm not bringing any more characters in because then I got to give them a book.
But you have to. Because they meet new people. They
do. So the new characters that came into book 3 is now book 4 about them.
The characters that book 4 is about are both mentioned in, if not book 1, then at least in book 2.
Okay.
I am dropping hints about them, but when I wrote the 2nd book, when I wrote In Due Time, I didn't know that those 2 would be number 4. Because I just, at that point, I was thinking just until after I made the decision to write a series, I thought, okay, 3 books, that's it. And then I thought, well, but I want to know.
And is there going to be any more after book 4?
I am planning to take a break from the series after the 4th book. I'm not saying no.
Never say no.
I think I'm taking a break because I have 2 new series in the making.
Oh, nice.
And I have the first drafts for the 1st book in each series. And I don't have enough time. I cannot continue writing the Full Circle series plus work on those other 2 series.
You've been busy.
Yes.
You have been busy. I'm excited to see these. Let's take a little break and say hi. If you have any questions, I'm going to scroll through. Let me see. I'm going to start up here. Hold on, I'm sorry. Virgie Lane says, I lived in Washington, D.C. for 17 years. So she's going to be able to connect to your book.
Yeah.
Here is a question from Ruth. How involved do you get with your characters? Ooh, that's interesting.
Oh, they become my best buddies. I dream of them. They're with me all the time. I need to really know them before I can start about writing about them. So, and that's one thing that we always learn and read in workshops, that we have to know our characters. We need to know when they were born, how school went for them, what was their favorite subject, what was the least favorite, all the little things. But of course, we're not telling the readers everything about it. We just share.
Do you keep little notepads, like so-and-so has black hair, likes black coffee, or?
I have a database on my computer.
Oh, I can't
do it. I have a whole Bible.
I never find it. If I put it in my computer, I can't find it.
Just put it where you can find it.
Then my desktop gets swamped. You should see my desktop. You can't see the picture behind it anymore because I know everything is if I put it on the desktop.
That was my problem when I switched laptops a few weeks ago, because on my HP, I had the same. My laptop, my desktop was full of little shortcuts and pictures. And with the MacBook now, I have nothing on it, and I do everything over through OneDrive. But it drives me nuts because I can't find everything. I'm like,
Yeah,
everything,
and I
where is it
cannot
now?
stand saving it to the cloud. I just
Mm.
do not like saving it to the cloud because I don't know which cloud it's in. You know?
Yeah.
It's so confusing. Desktop, I know where everything is. Marcy Joe has a question for you. Do you pick locations you already know, or do you research and choose new locations?
I do both. I prefer to use locations that I'm familiar with
Mm-hmm.
because it's easier to write when I know what it looks like.
Right. That
But
makes sense.
so yeah, usually I try to pick locations I'm familiar with. Occasionally I add something, and that's where Google Street View and those websites come into play because they're so helpful. You walk on that street and you
Oh yeah, Google Earth is fantastic.
Google Earth, and yeah.
Yeah, I love Google Earth for stuff like that. And we didn't have that 20 years ago for your
No, we
writing.
didn't.
You know, you had to either go over there or go find a magazine or
How
book.
did we live without internet and cell phones and Google Earth?
Oh, I know. And I tell my grandkids that. Well, we didn't have this 20 years ago. But what did you do? So,
Yeah.
that's scary when they have to ask me that. What did you do?
Yeah, well, we lived, we survived.
Went outside.
Yeah.
Another question from Marcy Joe. Are you planning a set number in this series? Okay, I think I just asked you that. Or are you letting the character determine it? This is, I guess she's talking about the full circle.
Yeah,
So
I'm just answering it quickly. Like I said, I had thought about 3, now it's 4. I have ideas for 1 or 2 more stories, but I will put them on ice
well,
now.
I do have to say too, your covers, they just pop. I love every single cover of yours. I love how the woman, you just pops, her outfit pops. Did you have a say in the designs of these?
I designed them all. Yeah.
Oh, you designed them. Well done. I wouldn't know where to begin.
Sometimes I don't either. I need, when I start writing, part of my writing process is I need to know how the characters look. I need to be familiar with the characters, and I need to have a cover. Sometimes I'm sitting here and I don't know what to, you're thinking and you're pondering, and I look at the cover and I think, oh, yeah. So it's just, it helps me to come up with ideas. Or what I do is, because I like to include the traveling, that's why I put landmarks like the Eiffel Tower, or on Time's Eternity, Jefferson
Yeah, your
Memorial.
covers tell you exactly where the book is located, where the setting is.
Yeah, it's at least a major setting. Yeah. And a major part. So what I do is I look for those pictures, and I'm not good at Photoshop. I got the subscriptions. I cannot figure that program out.
I don't have
it. Okay, yeah, I don't need to do it. That's why I have a graphic designer. And so I pretty much cut and paste. I take the pictures and cut and do, and just in a PowerPoint presentation, and then I send it to my designer and say, that's what I want.
And then she puts it all together for you.
And she's doing it. She buys the images. And
I kind of give my cover designer kind of what I want, but I let her figure it out. I just say, okay, I know I want Jill on the cover. And I give her some examples of maybe, what Jill, to me, in my mind, in my writing, is or looks like. And then she'll come up with the covers that you see. But for me to actually sit down and design a full cover, couldn't do it. There's no way. Do you ever use Canva for your cover designs?
Excuse me?
Canva. Do you ever use Canva to put your images together?
Not for the cover design, but for my graphics.
Okay.
I love Canva.
I do too. Yeah. And the things you can do on that is just endless. It's just
I know,
endless.
and there's so much more. I know you can design covers with it, but I don't want to take the time to do that because I use it a little bit because to get an idea of what I want, like for this new series that I talked about earlier or mentioned earlier. I haven't decided yet what the covers look like. So that's where Canva comes into play. I'm fiddling around with all
I do a lot of fiddling in Canva. And then there's another one called Book Brush.
that I'm not familiar with.
I tried the freebie and I prefer Canva. The options were very limited in Book Brush for me. And Canva, if you get the paid, the options are just endless. It's just,
I have the paid version, and
and it's well worth the money they charge. It well worth it and beyond. Hold on one second. I thought Denise Burt has a question. I think. Oh, I'm trying to click on Denise. Here she is. The mention of COVID is done very well, not an in-your-face element. Oh, because she's read the book.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Denise, for that. I like that. I'm just going through some of the comments. Virgie Lane says, I'd love to escape from COVID. My oldest daughter and young granddaughter are just getting over COVID.
And I saw Virgie's comment just a few minutes ago. And to people, I put a long explanation in my author notes in the second book and also in the third book, where I'm explaining why I decided not to ignore COVID. I feel horrible for everybody who has in any way been affected by it. But as we said earlier, it's for a story to be a story in real time to be believable.
You have to.
I couldn't just say
just ignore it. Yeah. And that makes a lot. Like I said, if I keep writing more books in the Sabella series, I will get to 2020 in the series, and I'll be
in Time is Eternity. The main characters are Joe and Luca, and Joe is a yoga studio, works in a yoga studio and a gym. Those closed down, those shut down. She had no income. What am I going to say? I'm going to say, oh, I don't need money. I don't need a job. So I needed to find something for her.
Okay. Oh,
that's why I couldn't ignore it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm anxious to read it. This one's on my next book to read. Karen has a question. How do you come up with your characters' names?
They pop up. They usually just pop up. It's like with Revan's name, we sat at our dinner table one night and I said, I need a man's name. I don't want a Stephen or an Andrew or a Michael. And somehow my son had the idea with Revan. And I thought, yeah, I like that because I like unusual names.
Right. Mm-hmm. I get stumped sometimes and I just ask my readers. Like the twins. I just had twins. I mean, someone in my book had twins.
Oh, I saw that post, yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I was stumped. And it helped. It helped a lot. But I'm with you. I like unusual names most of the time. And then you also have to think too, when you think of names, what's popular now might not be popular if you're writing a book, in the 70s.
Right.
And you kind of have to go with the trend of what was popular back then, and then names that weren't even thought of today in the 70s. There's some names out there today that no one would dream of calling their kids back in the 70s.
No, and that is another problem. I talked to another author about that problem just a few days ago, and she said, or we both said, you have to pay attention to when your story takes place. Yeah. Because when you write in Victorian times, you cannot bring up names that didn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't. And even though, there's super, super popular names, I'm not a fan of naming a kid just by the name of the year in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I just go by what I like, or sometimes
if it clicks.
Sometimes I might pick last names of people that I know, but of course give them a different first name.
First name, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I hear you. And the last name for me, I also have to think about the heritage, where they're from.
Yeah.
It's a Scottish, Irish, English, stuff like that. So it's not just run your name down a name list. Boy, okay, that one.
No.
I wish. Sometimes I go to baby name sites.
I do that too.
and get some kind of ideas from that too, to see what's trending if I'm writing what in today's time, to see what's popular. But I don't want anything too popular.
No. And it has to, the name also has to work with the rest of the characters and with the personality of the character.
Yeah. That's right. I agree. Well, I'm excited about this other series now. Do you have a title for it? Or are you going to just wait? You have to reveal if you don't want to. That's totally fine. I'm just curious.
I posted a few days ago about when I finished the first draft. The book is called Bellini's Mimosa, and the series is called Colors of Happiness.
Oh, I like that.
And that's all I'm saying right now.
That's all you say. Do you have a release date? Look at me. I haven't got to book 2 yet. I'm asking for this one.
I'm hoping for May or June of 2022.
2020. That's next year.
Next year, yeah.
So the fourth book is on pre-order.
That's coming out in March. Yeah.
Full Circle. That one is called Time Will Tell.
Yes.
That's on pre-order now. And then the next series, book 1, will come out when next year?
Hopefully early in the summer, like June, end of May, beginning of June.
That's very soon after the last book of this series.
It is. And
that's great.
I mean, it's not up for pre-order yet for several reasons, but I also need to figure out, I don't want to go more than 6 months between books. But because this is a new series, I want to introduce it early, just to get people, I want people to get interested in it.
Yeah.
And
well, you certainly got a lot of interest looking at these comments, so it's working.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
The next series, or even this series, are they based on any events that happened to you or someone you know? I mean, I want to just you explained you explained with book 1 the idea, and then the characters continued on because of the characters in the first book. On the second series, where did that idea come from?
That was, I saw a Facebook post. That is really a funny story. I think it's funny. I saw a Facebook post by an author who drank a Bellini, the cocktail Bellini. And I'm not a cocktail fan. I drink wine, I drink Prosecco. And I thought, okay, what's a Bellini? So I looked it up. It's Prosecco or champagne with peach.
Oh, like a champagne schnapps, maybe.
And some people put schnapps in it.
Okay.
So I thought, okay. I know mimosa is champagne and orange juice. And I sat on my deck and...
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And I thought, Bellini's Mimosa. What could I make with that title? What can I come up with? What can I come up with? And that's how it started.
One drink got this series going. One drink got you into this series, right?
One drink, yeah.
Isn't that crazy how a little everyday item would just trigger a whole book?
I think that is part of the fun of writing, because I always think, my ears, when I go to the store, my ears are open, my eyes are open, and I think you have no idea what you said can end up in a book.
Yeah, exactly.
I watch and I listen. And like I said, when I saw that post about Bellini, I thought, yeah, there has to be a story.
Yeah.
There's a story.
There is a story, and there'll be a series too. There'll be a series. Denise has another question here. Has there been a character that's spoken to you or screamed to be added to either your Full Circle series of your upcoming series that you just aren't sure of yet? When we talked about Naomi, she screamed at you.
She demanded her own book, yeah.
Yeah, just like, yeah.
A scream to be added. Besides Naomi, I don't think so.
Okay.
The protagonists in the fourth book, they are kind of a logic conclusion, because they are mentioned. They are Scotty and Sabrina, David's sister Sabrina, who has a lot of baggage with a boyfriend. And that's another thing in my stories. They're not based on real events, but I need closure. I don't like unfinished businesses.
Right.
And it seems as if in each of my stories, a lot of unfinished businesses come up and have to be solved. So no, nobody really screamed at me. But it is one of the things where readers would write and say, can we have a story about this and that character? And I know usually I balk and say, no, I can't write about that person. And then I write down the name and put it on my pinboard, and I like 2 days later,
Maybe.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? The last book, Time Will Tell, you obviously said never say never that you might write another book in the series.
Right.
So I'm assuming that either there's new characters I'm just guessing here. There's maybe a new character that might get a new book, or you've kind of left it where it's not completely closed up, so there's room to grow.
I think it is mostly, I think it's a nice conclusion to the series, right. But we have Revan's sister who's 20 years younger than he is, and she is just coming of age.
There we go.
So
never know. And what I like about the books I've read so far is that they can all be read as standalones.
Yeah.
You really don't have to read them in order. I mean, I'm one that will, because I like to grow with the story as I read it.
Me too.
But you can pick up book 2 and not miss much of book 1 because you kind of fill the reader in.
That was my goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Because I know that sometimes in the past, I would come across a book from another author that is not the first in a series. You just find that you like the cover and you like the blurb, and I would buy it. And then I find out that there's more books, like previous books. And I am not a fan of cliffhangers.
Me neither.
I need to have a book finished. Like the main character's problems need to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
I like to, as I said earlier, I like to drop hints. So usually about 2/3 into my book, people that read really carefully can figure out who the new main characters would be in the next book, mm-hmm. and what the problem is that they are dealing with. But to me, it is equally important that they're standalones.
Yeah, I agree. And when we had chatted last time, it was just Turn Back Time that was out. And I was ecstatic because I said, Naomi needs her own book. And hey, you had told me then on the chat, she's coming because that's the next book.
Yeah.
So I loved that she got her own book.
And I really want to point out, just because I said number 4 will, for the time being, the last one, I say tentatively. That's what I like. I'm probably going to phrase it from now on. Tentatively, the last one, but
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we all need a little break from, and just to change it up a little bit. You've written 4 books in this series, and I can see where, you want to.
Well, I wrote 4 books in that series in 1.5 years. That's
amazing. Fast. That's amazing. Well done. I was going to ask you how many. I mean, obviously you discipline yourself to write every day, and I also know that you edit. So this is not your full-time job.
Yeah.
I mean, writing is, and books are, but obviously you write a lot of words a day to discipline yourself and get that much done in a year and a half. Tell us a little bit about your writing schedule.
I don't have a set schedule, and I don't have a set number of words that I need to write each day. I try to write each day, or like the last few days I didn't get to write, but because I'm in revisions of book 4. So that makes me busy from 8 in the morning until 5 or 6 in the evening.
You're still working on your book though. You're still working on your book though.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I work 7 days a week, but I enjoy it. It's so much fun. And I think it really helped me over this COVID mess and everything, because I found something to do where other people said, I don't know what to do, and they were forced to sit at home. I was thriving. I'm not saying that I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but I could concentrate on what I love to do.
Right. Yeah. That's fantastic. So 4 books in a year and a half. I'm impressed.
Well,
I think we just answered this one. How many hours a day do you write? And are the characters ever popping into your everyday life and you can't ignore them? And hi, Bambi. I just saw
hi,
it.
Bambi. Yeah, I just answered the how many hours a day. It is not a set number. It's because, I mean, writing also includes research.
It does.
Includes a lot of things, and part of writing also is the social media and keeping up with groups or
that's the easiest. I always say the easiest part is writing the book. It's the marketing and putting ourselves out there that takes a lot of time.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah.
It does. I think about when my dad was writing in the 70s, there was none of this. There was no live chats. There was no social media. And, he went through a publisher and they did what they had to do. And he got his advance check and he just kept writing. It was so easy.
That sounds so easy. Yeah. But I really love the social media possibilities. And there are times when it gets a little overwhelming. Or I have to force myself. I'm at the point where I'm saying, okay, I have to force myself. I am limiting my time on Facebook. I'm checking in 3 or 4 times a day, but I cannot be on Facebook 6 hours a day because otherwise I will not get anything else done.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get carried away. Oh, here's a post. There's a
Yeah, it is. It is. And what I try and do, I will scroll once in a while during the day, but I have to just watch the clock. Okay, I've been on it 10 minutes, I'm done. But I schedule my post to the group. And you won't normally find me live in there until the evening because I just have to concentrate on my other stuff. And if I start going into the group, going on the Facebook, before I know it, 4 hours have gone by. Like, shoot.
That's it. And there's not just Facebook, there's Instagram, and I'm not doing Twitter. I'm not doing Pinterest yet.
Pinterest, I do like. When you ever get on the Pinterest, let me know, because I do have a collaboration board for readers and authors. And there's I think, almost 20,000 pins now from collaborators. Oh, wow. It's a huge board. So when you do come on board with Pinterest, let me know and I'll add you to the board.
I will let you know.
And I have a website and I don't maintain it as much as I should because I can't reach all these places. But I have a website, has my books on it. It does need to be updated, but most of my traffic comes from Pinterest.
Really?
Yeah, because what I do on Pinterest is I pin, things about my books on sale, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I pin graphics associated to my books, like today I did a jigsaw puzzle that looked like it was out of a house from one of the books. But stuff like that I put on Pinterest, and then people will click on it or take them to that actual book from the image, which is on my site. So keep that in mind that Pinterest will send you quite a bit of traffic to your website. And Facebook does too, but I've noticed a lot of people in Facebook don't like to leave Facebook. Yeah. They don't like to click on something that takes them out of Facebook, unless it's Amazon.
Yeah, well, keep clicking on those links.
That's fine. But no, I do enjoy Pinterest. I do. So Twitter, I don't do.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't. It's too political for me. It's too mean. I don't like it.
No, me neither. I tried Pinterest a few years ago, and it was totally confusing. But just lately, I've been thinking about it again. I will definitely get back to you about that.
Yeah, definitely. When you're up there, and just let me know, and I'll put you on the board. I like, and of course, not all, but a lot of the posts you see in the group are from Pinterest.
Yeah.
When I post things on my group, games and stuff like that, a lot of them are Pinterest. So it's great for that too. So I love Pinterest as much as I love Canva.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love my Canva. We love our Canva. Denise is asking, what do you find most enjoyable to do with your writing? Okay, what do you find most enjoyable to do with your writing? What's your favorite part about writing a book? Say that. I think that's what she's trying to say.
I think that's what. Sorry, Denise. Most enjoyable in the writing process.
Besides right in the end.
That is honestly the most enjoyable thing,
the favorite part, isn't
because
it?
that tells us that we did it again.
Yeah.
I usually at about 20,000 words, my husband says I do that every time. So when I'm about 20,000, I say to him, I don't know how I can get to 40,000. And I don't like short stories. So I have to get at least over 60 that it's like
That's
really counts.
for you.
So he says, you always say that. And then all of a sudden I'm at 75,000 words. And I'm like, ooh, how did I get here?
There you go. Do you keep track of how many words you write? When you do write, do you have a log of what you wrote in that session?
No.
I do. I do.
I mean, only I would know if I highlight what I wrote that day.
Right.
But and then of course, Word shows me how many words I wrote. But that's also hard because as much as I'm a pantser, I learned the other day that what I am is apparently a cyclist, which means I'm a pantser, but the next day I go back to what I wrote the previous day and go through it. So I'm editing as I'm working on a draft. So this cycling back to the previous chapter is called cycling.
A cyclist? I never heard of that before. That's good to know.
Yeah.
See, I don't edit as I go along. And for me, the reason why I won't is because I will keep changing stuff.
Yeah.
That's me though. But you're an editor, you're a professional editor, and you know when to stop. And
I hope so. Well, you never know. You have no guarantee, but with me it is, and I know a lot of authors say, oh, I'm just writing and I iron out all the mistakes later. I can't. I am so OCD that would drive me so nuts. If I know in chapter 15 is something that I definitely will change, and in chapter 43, I'm like, I have to change it now.
You have to do it now.
I have to do it right away, because then what if I miss it when I'm reading the book again? And now sometimes it's a little, like I said,
well, I think that's
OCD,
also your work habit, because being an editor, that's part of your work habit too. I mean, I will read what I wrote the prior session, and if I see something that's misspelled or whatever, I'll correct it. But I won't read it to the point where, okay, I'm going to change that around. No, I just read it and then move on. That's what works for me. But what I find myself doing too, we have characters that we have to keep tabs of, and I'll be going, now what's that guy's name again? I'll just put X. I'll find that out later. I'll check it later.
No, see, and that would literally keep me up at night. If I would do that, I would wake up at 2 a.m. like, what was his name? What was his hair color?
Really?
I think I gave him green eyes instead of blue eyes. I can't do that.
Yes, that's what I would do. Like so-and-so's mother, I know she's in book 2. Now she's coming back in book 4, but I can't remember her name. I'll look it up later.
No, I need to know that right away, or it would drive me nuts.
That would drive you nuts. Okay. Let me see. Here's a question from Amanda Reynolds. When you're out and about and an idea pops into your head, do you write down the idea or make a note of it?
I am sending myself an email.
From your phone? That's a good idea. I've not heard that one before.
Because I do not carry a notebook or a notepad or anything with me, and I will not remember it. By the time when I'm in the grocery store and I go into the next aisle, I forgot what the thought was. So I sent myself an email.
I like that. I'm going to try that. I think that's a brilliant idea. That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, it's so easy. And then you have another idea and you just reply and you reply to yourself.
That makes total sense to me. I love it. Easy. Brilliant. I'm going to steal that one from you. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Go ahead.
In case I want to say hello to a few more people that have joined us before we actually close this down. I can't believe
we're almost up.
Hours ago. But Elaine Sapp has joined us. She's here. And she says she left Twitter after 11 years. I don't blame you, Elaine.
Mhm.
Lori Chasco is here. She says hello.
Hi, Lori.
I'm glad you guys are joining us. I'm sorry, Cindy Unruh. I'm trying to get in a few more questions before we wrap this up. She's asking, do you have a set time of day? No, you don't.
No, I don't. I try to sit on my desk by 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:30, 9 o'clock. But
And if nothing comes to you, do you fight it, or do you just go about your business and do something else?
if nothing comes to me, I'm putting some effort behind it. For me, that is looking out the window or letting my mind wander. And that's where it actually helps to look at the cover sometimes.
Give you the yeah, there we go. There we go.
Because that does help me sometimes to trigger something. But if really nothing happens, then I just let it go.
They let it go. And then I'm looking at the time. I have to do this for under an hour so I can get it up on Instagram.
Yeah.
But the book you've been talking about is Time is Eternity. Let's see the cover one more time.
Here's
this
the
is
cover.
book 3 in the Full Circle series. That's out now.
That came out 3 weeks ago.
I'm going to see if I can do it real quick. But the book for 4, what's the title again, Annette? I'm sorry.
Time Will Tell.
Time Will Tell. I'm looking if I can get the picture up of the cover, because of course you don't have it yet. And this comes out when again?
In March.
In March. I love these
22.
covers. Why won't? There we go. Okay, I'm going to try and see if I can get this up to the phone. Hold on. Where is it? There it is. Kind of got it in there without the light, but that's
kind of got it. Yeah.
Yeah, that comes out next year.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the giveaway.
Okay.
We're doing a giveaway. What is the giveaway, my dear?
I am, because there are so many familiar names and people that are joining us. I don't know which book people read or not, so I'm not saying I'm giving away this or that book. I am giving away a paperback, and I'd like you to pick the winner.
Oh, me? Okay.
You and if you pick the winner can choose which of the books.
From 1, 2, 3,
1, 2 to 3.
Also?
1, 2, or 3.
Okay,
yeah,
wonderful.
I'm talking about signed paperbacks.
Signed paperback, wonderful. And then I'll do my usual ones too, which would be this for one reader. I'm a Cuppa A Natter. I drink a cup of tea on every show. And this is the tea I drink. So someone's going to get a box of tea bags. And then if you go to my author page and you share this video with your friends and tag me, let me know that you shared it, you're in the drawing for the $5 Amazon gift card. But you have to share the video to be in that drawing. You have to go to my author page and you have to share it from my author page and tag me, so that way I know that you shared it.
Exactly.
And that, as always, this has been great. I love
it. Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. And when your next book comes out, let's get you back on so we can talk about that one too.
We will. And by then I can talk about the new series.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're going to have to look at my dates and see when we can get you on. But I did put a lot of your links on your bio that you sent me.
Thank you.
If there's any more you want to add, just go ahead and put them in the comments. If you want to add a direct link to your series page, that'll be awesome. And I will probably announce the winners in a couple of hours. Okay. You did mention you're going out of town tomorrow.
Yes, I'm going away for tomorrow. My husband and I will go to Philadelphia, and then I will be attending my first writers retreat from Wednesday through Sunday in Baltimore. So I will not be home for the rest of the week, but I will follow up with all the comments probably over the next 2 days. So give me a little bit of time to
get settled,
to follow up, and then to get out. I can't wait to get out of the house.
I want to hear about the writers retreat. I've never been to one, so you got to let me know how that is. How many will there be there?
I don't know exactly. There are 70 people in the Facebook group. It's through a group called Women's Fiction Writers Association.
Sounds like fun. You got to let us know all about it. Send me those pictures if you can.
I will let you know.
Okay. All right. I'm going to have to cut it down. Thank you, everybody, for joining us as usual. We love having you. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Please, yes. And if you have any other questions that you want to just put in the comments that we didn't get to, or you just thought of, go ahead and write them down, and Annette will get back to you.
I will definitely answer them over the next few days.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye.